Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Not Your Asian Women podcast. I'm Christine Chang.
I'm Shining.
Today, we're going to talk about
Fatherless behaviors.
our dads.
Yep.
Daddy. Do you call your dad?
I'm like, that got a little freaky.
Daddy. I call my dad Pops mostly. Or Baba.
Yeah. My dad allows me to call him by his full name. Yeah, that's unheard of in Asian culture.
Wait, but that's normal? Or is it like an inside joke between you guys?
Yeah, it's like a joke little bit. I think first time I did it was something like he did so absurd and I got upset and I just called him by his full name. Like we both laughed.
Okay.
And then ever since it's more like an inside joke, but I don't call that. I call his name all the time
in front of his friends.
Yeah, but it's just kind of like it now it has developed into if he does something or says something so stupid, I call his name and then we both laugh and then kind of defuse the situation a little bit. Yeah, but I can't use that trick all the time. I gotta know to pick my battle with him.
Yeah. But it sounds like if you're able to do that, you have a pretty close relationship with him.
These days, for sure. Not when I was younger.
Okay,
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. We both were joking, but kind of serious, that we could talk about our dads over the course of 50 plus episodes. So this is part one. We'll share some stories of growing up and kind of where we are now with our dads. So growing up, was your dad around a lot? Was he working?
Yeah, he was working a lot. He wasn't around. He quit his government secured owned job. So he started his own business. He wasn't around a lot. And I don't really have that much childhood memories of him. I just remember once a week I get to see him and he give me allowance.
Oh, yeah. Wait, you saw him once a week?
Pretty much, yeah. Just once a week. And then
But your parents were together?
Together, yeah. He wasn't physical with me. He wouldn't like hit me, but he would raise his voice and I see him like raise his voice and then get short-tempered around my mom a lot. He wasn't physical with my mom or me, but if like he was unpredictable. If something set him off, he would like flip the whole dinner table and then he will yell and scream. That wasn't very pleasant memories. And then when I do get to see him, when he was calm, I was very nervous around him.
I was going to ask, were you scared?
I was very scared of him. Yeah. When I was younger, I didn't, like I felt, oh yeah, just once a week I get to see him and then he hands me money. Perfect. Like I would brag to my friends about it. It was like, and I felt, oh my God, this is a perfect relationship. But now looking back, it's like, oh my God, fatherless.
Where were you?
Yeah, where were you? Like you didn't teach me how to like deal with emotions or struggles or things like that. So, but yeah, what about you? I know you recently.
Well, I think ours is kind of opposite. So growing up until actually about 2 weeks ago, I've been arguing, disagreeing with my dad, fighting. We've been fighting, okay, last 2 weeks over some family business stuff. Before that, like, as I was always a daddy's girl, I have a sister, but there was always a special bond between us. I think personality-wise, we're just more on the same frequency. My mother, very short-tempered. She was the disciplinarian, mean, and my dad was the patient one, the nice one. And I mean, we're all emotional, but just more logical and simple. And I always just resonated with that better. And so when my parents got divorced when I was 11 or 12, they let us choose who we wanted to live with, and I chose my dad. It was an easy decision for me just because I felt safe with him. He gave me freedom too. He's very accepting of people. He's a very you do you, I'm going to do me. And I respected that. I value freedom, where my mom was more controlling and felt very suffocating. I felt like I couldn't be me. She was very critical. So I naturally gravitated towards him. So those years, which are very formative years from like age 11, 12 through high school and college, I mean, he basically raised me during that time, and we became really close. That's me becoming a woman, basically. And he knew all the things. Like we talked about things that like my sister and him have never talked about, because he's seen me through some shit. He's seen me through my first heartbreak. I remember even after I became an adult, and the first and only time that I know of that someone cheated on me, I was so crushed. He flew down to come see me. Oh. And it almost reverted back to I was being a little kid, and I just like wanted to be with my dad. And it happened several times where he's just like, hey, do you want to go travel? You're down. You want to go travel somewhere? So we'd go on these trips went to Yunnan once, China. He's like, have you been to Shangri-La? We could go there. It's very magical. We went to Bali, and he just always wanted to make me happy. He was there for me in that way. As a little kid, like when my parents were married, he worked. My mom worked as well. They were business partners, but my mom she was on top of things. She knew like our birthdays, how old we were. I think this might be a cultural thing too. He just was not involved in that way. Didn't know who our teachers were. None of that. But I always felt like he cared and he was around. He took us to our first movie. We saw, I think it was The Little Mermaid, and he would take us to this arcade, like the fun stuff. I have very happy memories and happy association with him.
That's nice.
Which I feel very lucky to have. I kind of married someone kind of similar to him, subconsciously, even through all the work that I've done. I was kind of clear, I'm like, some aspects of dad, but not all aspects of dad. But I realized after I married Pete, like Pete is a workaholic. He finds purpose in work, which I like, but almost to the point of I'm like, don't you want to do something else? But that's like my dad finds purpose in work. And that's what we've been fighting about the last 2 weeks of his company, his business. He has this expectation he won't let go of, that he wants my sister and I to be involved, take it over. And this has been decades of not listening to us, saying, listen, we don't want this. This is for you. And it's gotten to the point of almost disrespecting boundaries. And, I take responsibility of my job is to enforce my boundaries and communicate it. And I can't do anything past that. So what's come up for me recently is, because the last 2 weeks, I'm not a yeller. Like when we fight, I don't fight much with people. It got to the point where I was yelling in the conference room because I just felt so pushed into a corner of saying, I can't be here. I live in LA. I have my own life. We had this talk a year ago. I told you how I would help you. I told you I'll restructure things. We'll hire someone for this position, and you're not listening. And his whole thing is success is wrapped around his ability to generate income and this company. That's his identity. It's his life, which I respect. Okay, if that's fine. But at the same time, I told him, because he tries to guilt me sometimes. My therapist told me, he's like, he's going to try to guilt you. And his generation, he doesn't even know what he's doing, right? Right? It's just, he's not even aware of it. And he literally, for him with the money, I told him, I'm like, I don't want this money. There's other income that I have. I don't need, and I don't want this money. And he literally tried to hand me a check. Literally. And I said, I do not want this. And he didn't know what to do with that.
The listeners right now is like, I won't do it. Let me do it.
And I said, he's just like, so wrapped up in the success and money. And I was like, you know what, Dad? He's like, fine, you don't think I'm successful? I said, good for you for building all this. I'm grateful for the life you gave us growing up. However, I view success differently. I'm like, what are you going to do? You're going to make all this money and then die and that's it? I said, success to me is your family wants to hang out with you. And I love you so much. And you and I have a great relationship. And even right now, I don't want to be here with you right now because you're not respecting what I'm telling you. And it's coming off as very selfish. And I don't want to be here right now. And it's a pattern because I don't want to share too much of his because it's his personal stuff as well. But basically, my mom stopped working there. You know, his current partner doesn't want anything to do with it. My sister doesn't. I was like, maybe it's you. Maybe it's you. Like, I just want him to take responsibility for his part. Yeah. And I take responsibility for mine. But what's come up is my fear is that, because he's 81, you know, my fear is if he gets sick or he dies, this is going to be the last memories I have of our relationship dynamic. It terrifies me. And I know how fast those things can happen. He had a heart attack, I think 7-8 years ago. And it happens so fast. And so I always think about that. But at the same time, it's not a reason for me to forego my life or my truth to make him happy, like a fake happiness for him. I cannot give that up. I'll become resentful. I'll be very unhappy. I think that there's a happy agreement we can come to. It's just dealing with a stubborn old Chinese man. And the older he gets, the more stubborn. It's almost like talking to a little kid. Parts of it are, he's very sharp, but almost unreasonable. That's what I think.
Is it only the business thing that he's acting like this towards you? Other than that, he's very loving, understanding. Yeah. I think, like you said, this business is his whole identity. By like you and your sister telling him to sell it, I don't think he's taking it well. It's like killing a part of him. Yeah. He'd rather you guys to continue to work this business.
That's his wish. And I think he's having a hard time accepting that.
Yeah. Does he have other hobby? Maybe like you and sister can help him to find like a passion or a hobby that
that's the thing.
Like reinvent himself,
right?
Different identity.
He's 81. I don't know if he's willing to explore that. I do think it's healthy having different aspects of yourself. Yeah.
What about dancing? You know, older
he used to.
Okay, nice.
Until it gave him a heart attack the first time. I'm sorry. I'm so grateful because he could have died that night, and his life partner now is a doctor, and her team happened to be at the performance, gave him CPR for over 7 minutes till the ambulance came.
Oh my God.
And she knew how to administer like good CPR. If she wasn't there, he would have been dead. Oh, yeah. So I'm so grateful for that. But he was folk dancing. And so since then, he hasn't danced much. He doesn't exercise. He used to travel for fun, but now it's all business. It's all, I need to, if I don't do this, I'm going to die. And I think there's some truth to that. He said, if I don't have this, I'm just going to be watching YouTube videos at home. And I'm probably going to die shortly after because I have no purpose.
I feel attacked. Watching YouTube and doing nothing is my whole identity.
Frying your brain.
I can't be bothered. If I work, I die.
Yeah, so that's been really tough. I do think he'll come around. He is a reasonable person, but it's just very, with this specific thing, extremely stubborn and not workable. So at some point, you know, my sister was like, when I was yelling, she's just like, there's no point in you trying to argue right now. Everyone's adults at some certain point. Some things are his responsibility, and you just communicate where you are, and that's it. don't even try to convince him of anything right now. But we're just trying to be practical and protect him too. Part of it is having a plan. And I told him, what if you get sick? What, like we have the lawyers lined up and like valuation, like it's not a bad idea to have a plan, a will. Mm-hmm. And he was just so resistant to everything, which doesn't make any sense as a business person. It's his emotions and his ego talking, saying, I don't need that. I don't care if my money goes to the government. We're just like, okay.
You're like, I care.
No, but it's really one of the, I do value freedom. I'm like, I don't expect anything from my parents in that way. Do what you want with your money. It's yours. I'm just trying to be logical and make sense. If you told me like, I want my money to be donated to this charity, I'll help you do that. But we need to have it set up. It was crazy talk to me.
I think maybe just resisting the fact that he's going to die, or like death. Like I know death is a legit fear of people's.
Yeah.
So maybe something to do with that is like writing a will is like you have to accepting that.
Yeah.
It's not easy for people to, because you have to think about where your money go after you die. Mm-hmm. So you have to accept that. Yeah, that probably has something to do with it. And then also, this is his baby.
Yeah.
His identity, his value. Mm-hmm. To let that go, it's hard, I guess. But he will come around.
I think so. It's been, but I can tell after the conversations of me saying your family, wanting to hang out with you. I just left it at that, and then he was sending me nice texts. I could just see, I could feel he feels guilty.
Yeah. Don't ever say sorry, but
no sorry. But same with my sister. Yeah.
My dad. He won't say sorry, but he will say, "I forgive you." I'm like, okay. As I'm getting older, I learn not to argue. And not to engage. Because if I talk back, forget about it. And I think, nowadays I a lot more better at it. Before, I still try to argue with him and I want to win.
Yeah.
I want to like make him understand. That's, a waste of time.
Totally.
He's a lot older. He's not going to change the way he communicates. I can't expect him all of a sudden just learn emotional intelligence.
Right. It's almost
so
like
I have to do that.
2 languages, isn't it?
Yeah,
sometimes
for
I'm
sure.
like, what are you talking about? Yeah, but you're absolutely right. You can't expect that of others. It's what can we do? And being the bigger person.
Yeah.
Sometimes can be hard.
It can be hard. It's not easy to always be the bigger person. I always think about this way, like helps me to kind of not like ignore, but just not engage. I do think about, they're not going to be here long.
Yeah.
And if they die tomorrow, is this the last conversation I want to have? And immediately I would just, whatever he says is like, okay, you're right. Okay. So these days we don't argue as much. And you were talking about like Pete is similar to your dad in that way. I always knew I would never marry a guy like my dad. Like Brad is completely different than him. And he knows, my dad loves me enough to understand that. And Brad was the first guy, he can't accept any guy. That's just default. Any father sees a guy try to take their daughters, they'll be like, no. At best, he was like, okay. He's good.
So typical Chinese dad.
Yeah. He agrees our marriage, but I don't think he will ever like in that sense like completely approves. But this is the best he can do. I completely understand. And he knows that Brad is good for me. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's good. And like my dad was like a very political. He would argue with TV. What's his name? The comedian. I'm gonna shout him out. Jimmy O Yang. He did a bit about it. Like his dad would argue with the TV. And I feel like all Chinese older men, they do that. Yeah. And then Brad is not political at all. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about any like news where he doesn't even engage with that conversation. He doesn't care. Like he's very nerdy. He just loves D&D and that's it. He's not even a sports guy.
That's Dungeons and Dragons in case you're not in that world.
So like I feel like like when like growing up like girls, right, they either marry some guy not exactly but very similar to their dad or completely opposite.
I want to take a minute to talk about an awesome instant coffee company. I drink this personally every day. Shining, maybe not every day because that woman does not need coffee. What I love about this is how easy it is to make. It's powder and you just add water. You could add milk. And there's also healthy ingredients inside like collagen. We love our collagen. MCT oil and L-theanine. So that means extreme focus, no jitters. Besides this being a great product, honestly, it helps us so much when you support our affiliate links and the commercials that we have here because that is how we fund our podcast and continue giving you guys great content.
With the abusive relationships too, either you marry exactly like your dad or stepdad that very abusive, that the generational vicious cycle like continues, or you learn to break it. But yeah,
that familiarity. I thought I was, because I had done personal growth and then I thought I was really aware of everything I was doing, and some things came up where I realized, oh, Pete is more like dad than I thought in certain ways. Yeah, the workaholic thing. And then also Pete's a little more passive and my dad is as well. I remember wishing that my dad was a little more assertive at times. I mean, it makes sense that my parents were married because it was like my mom was the fiery one and she could not be with a partner who is also a fiery one. There'd be no space for that. So my dad was the more passive one. But I remember there would be some times that, like, for example, we traveled to the Amazon rainforest once and we're on this jungle trek. And in our group, there's a couple Italian guys. And how old am I at this point? Maybe 16. And you know how Italian men can be?
Pervert.
Yes, like really perverted and almost like kind of like harassing me and making me feel uncomfortable. Now I look back on it, I was really young. I'm like, that's gross, And my dad saw me uncomfortable and he didn't say anything. And I remember being really pissed about it. My God, if I had a daughter and I saw that she was uncomfortable, I would say something. I would check in with her maybe, or I'd say to the guys,
Have you
leave him alone.
Talk about it too?
I've never brought it up. I should bring it up actually, because I'd be curious where his headspace was at. Because it's not that he didn't care about me. I just wondered, why wouldn't you try to help in that situation? And maybe, I wasn't super emotional or expressive, so maybe he'd even pick up that I was uncomfortable. But yeah, just really passive versus, there's some guys who are very protective and like, no, leave her alone. That would have made me feel safer, I guess, in that kind of situation. I always felt emotionally safe with my dad. But he's in general not a confrontational person, which would actually piss a lot of people off because sometimes it can come off like they don't care.
Yeah.
And actually Pete has that too, where I'm like, it comes off like you don't care. It's come up quite a few times. But yeah, I've seen it with my dad and maybe some family members, and he doesn't mean bad, but it's very, very dismissive to not acknowledge when someone needs a response or needs something. Can definitely have that impact.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like a very common trait in older Chinese men, that generation, because my dad is like that too. It like he doesn't like confrontation, but when it comes to his business side of it, he won't hesitate to voice his opinion or his plan, and no one can argue with him on that. But when it comes to family or other social situations, he almost like checked out. He doesn't, comes off as he doesn't care. And I don't want to get into like family details, but there was one thing that really fucked me up. And years later, I worked up the courage to talk to him about it. And he turned around and then try to make me feel bad. And it's like a narcissist behavior. Manipulative. And he was like, oh, well, what the fuck do you want me to do, huh? I'm like, be a dad? Protective of your daughter? Yeah, so, yeah, he's kind of like, I don't know, maybe that generation, they just automatically turn off emotionally or doesn't know how to deal with that. So when it comes to something that's they don't know how to deal with, they just shut off.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. People are different. Yeah, my mom was the opposite. She has to say something to someone. Sometimes I say, Mom, that's not necessary. She's like, nope. And she was always that woman, which I actually really respect about her, especially being an immigrant. Like it's tough. You know, it's tough being an immigrant, the way she was treated in a business setting. It's not fair. Like you have to work harder as a woman, especially back 70s, 80s, 90s when she's parenting us and also running this company where they don't treat her as equal. She's had to endure a lot of shit. So I think it's really toughened her up. But it was hard growing up with that as a mom, but as an adult, I feel so grateful to have had that because I think it set a good example for me to not put up with shit. She always said, like, don't let anyone treat you like that. You don't have to tolerate that. Whereas some women, maybe who have more passive moms who maybe put up with verbal abuse, emotional abuse, or even physical abuse, that example is familiar to them. So they might find themselves not sticking up for themselves or saying like, oh, it's not that bad because that's how they grew up. Where that feels so wrong to me because I watched my mom as a role model not take shit. She divorced my dad and said, this doesn't work for me. I will not be disrespected. So I saw you can walk away if you don't, if it's not a good situation for you. She gave me a lot of confidence there. But talking about like daddy issues and stuff, I think I had more, honestly, like mommy issue stuff that I had to heal versus daddy issue stuff. I think the relationship with our parents is always very complicated.
Yeah, daddy issues in general, I think affect our intimate relationships with our partner. And mommy issues are more within ourselves, like our sense of self-love, confidence, security. Because if your mother didn't give you enough of that, you will want to seek out outside of validation. You don't have that confidence.
I had that.
Yeah.
Completely. It was bad. I had to heal that a lot.
Yeah, same with me. My mom was the avoidant type, passive. When my dad acted out, she would just hide herself in the bedroom or whatever, and she won't stand up for herself. She will leave the situation, or even when my dad was like very kind of verbal abusive towards me, I don't have memories of her standing up for me. She will later on talk to or like complain about that with me. She's a good listener. Like when we would like vent about my dad, but she does nothing about it besides just venting. And now I learned, that's that had affected me in a way that we talked about fighting style. I modeled that. I modeled my dad a lot more when I used to, not anymore. I'm a
Changed
healing
woman.
journey. I'm a changed woman. But I used to have short temper. Yeah, we talked about it. Like I would just throw shit and say the nastiest thing, like a mental breakdown, all that. And then I would like calm down, and then but I feel like I'm pretty reasonable.
You are.
After I just said I was crazy. But I need to like let out, because I didn't know how to process emotions. So all I'm familiar with was what my dad did. Like he would just act crazy, and then that's how throwing shit. So I modeled after that. But yeah, now I'm more like, I'm a lot older. I don't have energy to have mental breakdown anymore.
It's true.
It takes a lot to like throw shit.
It does change as you get older. Maybe everyone's different, but in general, I've noticed myself too of you're just more particular how you want to spend your energy. So if P and I are fighting, sometimes like I'm just going to go to the bedroom and watch YouTube videos, and we'll go to bed and we're both still mad, and the next day we're better. So and it just works for us. Whereas maybe before I really needed an answer, I'm going to push you. Yeah. I'm just like, actually I've learned it from him, just to flow better and have patience with it. Like we have so much safety that I know everything's going to be fine. But in the moment, I'm just like, I just need to fucking take a break.
When I was a lot more unhinged, I wasn't able to go to bed. If the shit is not resolved, I'm like, I'm not. I sound like a physical abusive woman.
Have you? In high school.
Oh, yeah.
I would hit my boyfriend.
Yeah.
Oh, that was horrible. I didn't know. I was just copying my mom. Actually, my mom, like I've seen her throw things. I didn't know any better.
Yeah, we learn, right? That I was more like kind of a little violent.
You keep
and I would like I keep what you doing using this motion doesn't really help. But I would like wake him up if I just thought of something, or I wasn't I didn't feel like this shit is resolved. I wouldn't let him sleep.
That picture is actually really funny. He's just like, fuck, I just want to sleep.
Oh, yeah. Fatherless behavior. My dad wasn't around to teach me this.
Yeah, learning to fight well. They say that's one of the predictors of a long-lasting relationship or marriage is how well you're able to fight.
Yeah. You need to
repair.
Oh, yeah. You need a match fighting style. If one is very confrontational, one is very avoidant, it will get to a point where maybe the avoidant will kind of like check out. You don't want that.
Yeah.
And then if like both are very fiery, I mean, sometimes that works. Like Matthew McConaughey, he wrote a book, Green Light. His parents were like that. I guess it worked out.
Oh, they're still together?
Yeah, they're still. No, his dad died.
Okay.
But they were all
They're both fiery.
Yeah, very fiery. They will. This first chapter he wrote about witnessing them throwing knives at each other.
Oh shit.
And after had sex in the kitchen floor.
Well, yeah, they say that the fiery couples tend to be like really attracted to each other, great sex, which makes sense. But to me, that sounds so exhausting after a decades of that. Sounds exhausting to me. And I get some people have the energy for it. For me, I don't. That's not the type of intimate relationship I wanted.
Right.
I want overall peaceful and calm because I'm like, this is my everyday. I can go out in the world and be my crazy, unpredictable. But back at home, that safety and the calmness was what I was looking for. So I think that's good to know what you want too.
Yeah,
that's
communication.
The thing, right?
Yeah, if somebody needs processing time, just voice yourself. Hey, I'm gonna walk it off, and then I'll come back. We can talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you just have to respect each other's boundary and then know your fighting style. That really helpful.
Yes, and self-awareness too helps a lot. I'm learning do you feel like not a lot of people have self-awareness?
Oh, not a lot. Most people don't have self-awareness.
That's what I think or feel. But then at the same time, they say whenever you're pointing fingers, point back at yourself. So I know that I have blind spots for sure. But I think it's the desire to want to do introspection and want to maybe take into consideration, maybe it's me. Like, what am I doing here instead of always pointing the finger is really important to me. Anyone super close in my life, I cannot be really close to someone who's not willing or not interested in doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not taking accountability is a big no. Yeah,
I hate that.
Yeah,
quality.
It like you said, we all have blind spot. There are times we're just irritated for no reason and then easily triggered. If we can just communicate that to our partner and say that I need to be left alone and then circle back, that's fine. That's completely normal.
Yeah.
But to kind of like hurt people or take your partner as punching bag, that's not going to work.
No. I mean, it's juvenile.
Right? I've been there.
I mean, when you're younger, right? But you just hope that people grow and it gets better. I don't know. Can you imagine being in your 50s, 60s, 70s acting like that?
Like a child?
Which actually they say as you get older, you do.
Yeah,
you start acting like a child.
Yeah. I can see myself.
I'm going to be, what kind of older person do you think you're going to be?
Like hopefully still fun and like find curiosity. You know what? I do hope I still have like a fiery or anger in me. That means I'm still alive.
It's true.
Yeah, like things will still trigger me enough that I react, but not in a, like old cunt way. But just kind of, I don't know. I feel like aging, the thing that scares me the most isn't the physical aging, is mental, is giving up, is not trying. And it's not seeing things, seeing little beauty, find beauty in little things. That I'm afraid of, like losing the passion and light. And I think once because that can happen in any age. It's not just, like old, like young, like they're younger people, like I see sometimes, like they look pretty dead. Mm-hmm. And then I've seen like older couples, they still go out and then do activities and lively. I wish to be like that, to be honest.
Yes, I hope to be that. But I have a feeling I'm going to have to be very conscious about it and do the work because I can see myself being a really miserable like Karen old person.
You can't do that.
Calling out, being pissed at all the stupid young people. I mean, I've just watching my mom. She's still, I think, kind of jaded or unhappy about some things, which, if anything, it just makes me sad. You know, I just want to see her enjoy her life. But it's kind of indicator to me of what not to do. Like, I'm not aiming for that.
That's awareness. That's awareness that sometimes people will see other people and then don't reflect back on, oh, I should be aware of not do this or do this more so I can become a better person. That's awareness that most people don't have.
Goody. So hopefully, yeah, I'll just keep that in mind. And it just comes down to habits and way of being, right? So hopefully I keep that up.
Yeah. What else we talk about? Our daddy issues, choice of partners, fighting style.
I think I shared, yeah. How about
in-laws?
Oh, in-law. How's your father-in-law? How's your father-in-law?
Speaking of in-law, actually, my in-laws are great.
Same. No, are you joking?
Really? No, not joking. My in-laws are great.
Yeah, same. I feel really lucky. Really, really lucky.
Really lucky. They know boundaries, and I don't get bothered at all. And the thing is, like, they aren't in a as good of financial situation as my parents. They can take care of themselves. They never, because we offer financial help, and they would reject. And all they want to do is that they can take care of themselves. They just want us to live a good life. They genuinely, like, oh, damn, they're like angels. So, like, I feel very lucky in that way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't get bothered by, oh, you need, where are my grandkids or something like that. They don't say anything like that. Oh, they leave us alone. And whenever, like, they visit, his dad would start doing yard work, want to, like, take care of our house. And then his mom will ask permission to open my refrigerator door. If we don't tell her you can do this, she will just sit there and wait for permission.
Respect.
She'll, like, wait for me to wake up. Now, like, looking back, I felt like really bad. I feel bad because they, older people, they wake up early. And then
she's like thirsty and hungry.
Yeah, she'll just sit and patiently wait for me to wake up. Meanwhile, my mom would just, like, bust our door open, like, just open the windows and let the air out.
Oh, yeah. Yes, absolutely. Oh, my God. What is up with Asian parents that they do that? They barge in your room, you're sleeping, they start vacuuming or open the windows, make a bunch of noise. What the hell? I mean, the culture is just, it's not, things don't revolve around you, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if the house is up, the house is up. But it is different culturally. My in-laws are Polish and Scottish. They're white. And just very respectful. Same. Do not pressure us to have kids. They respect their kids. They include me. There's no, how you're talking about, like, your dad, like, never fully approving. Their parents, like, treat me like their kid. There's no, like, you're the in-law, you're the outside. It's you're in the family. And I think some people don't know that that's possible because they don't treat outside, like, non-blood relatives in that way. So it's been so cool because I've never seen parents like that before. You know, that's
our culture.
I've never experienced parents like that before. And they're very, very reasonable. We went hiking over the summer. This is the funniest thing. If anyone knows me, hiking is actually one of my least favorite activities. Do I look like
white person?
I mean, me in hiking shoes and hiking gear, it just doesn't, no. So we go hiking in Vermont, and literally when we get there, it's called the White Mountains. And I told my friend Andrew, he's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "On a hiking trip to Vermont." Andrew's Asian. He said, "Who? I didn't know there's hiking in Vermont. Who hikes in Vermont?" And I said, "White people."
In White Mountain.
He said, "Hey man, you signed up for this." I said, "You're right. I married and chose a white guy." So yeah, his dad loves to hike. So I guess they used to do this a lot growing up. So Pete said, "Do you want to come and see what we did growing up?" Which I wanted to, but I just knew this is not something I would choose to go. It's not just hike, like a leisurely hike. This is hike. You got the outdoor gear on, and luckily we had the younger kids with us in his family, so we didn't do the multi-hike where you're like camping and going up. It's just day hikes. I'm like, I would never choose to do this on my own. But his dad's cool. He just, he's like, "What'd you think?" I was like, I mean, it was nice being out in nature. It was lush, but I can be honest with them too. I said it's not something I would choose to do. He's like, "Well, thank you for trying. I know it's not your regular cup of tea, and maybe next time, we can go into the city, like New York City, and we could do something that you like to do." Really, really sweet. Yeah. So they're cool. But his pizza is definitely, he's a teacher. He's very not emotional. His mom's very attuned. But I think women in general tend to be a little more attuned and anticipate needs. His dad's just a little more, Pete's exactly like him. Sometimes I'm like, "Are you there? Wake up." They're there. They show their love through acts of service. Great with kids. Yeah, his father's a teacher, so he's great with the grandkids. But in certain ways, sometimes with the emotional attunement, I definitely see Pete as like his dad a lot. Mm. Yeah, but the most important thing is, I mean, they're some of the most kind people I've ever met. Kind, and yeah, their whole thing is, all their family's awesome. They're just don't never think you're better than anyone else. Just be a good person.
Yeah, my in-laws are his dad loves hiking too.
I saw a photo of you online where, I don't know if you're in Santa Cruz or something, you had hiking shoes on. And I remember and a plaid shirt. And I said, she must be with her in-laws or something.
The caption, "This is the last time I hang out with white people."
I don't know.
Hiking, camping, that's their thing. Our thing is Costco. Costco is our hiking.
Yes. The hiking, I get being in nature. The whole REI outdoor gear thing, though, that, unless you're climbing Mount Everest or something, I get it. But I feel that stuff's really expensive, number one. But I'm like, if you're going to be outdoors, my idea of outdoors is more like you go to Bali and the rice paddy, and those guys are outside, but they're in flip-flops, doing shit, and they're shirts off. That to me is outdoors. I feel if you protect yourself from all the elements of outdoors, then I'm like, why are you outdoors? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense when you overdo it? And a lot of them who are into the outdoorsy thing, they overdo it with walking sticks. And unless you're climbing something really hard, I get it. But I'm like, sometimes in LA, the trails here, I'm like, calm down, buddy. Calm down. I have my fat little dog, and I got my ice smoke, and they're a little too serious here.
It's giving Blair Witch Project. Have you seen that movie?
That whole aesthetic. It's like that Canadian aesthetic, right? The beanie with the plaid shirt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They love hiking, huh? Well, I mean, I understand. There's nothing up there to do.
I'm more of an ocean person. I like open space. I like being out. I love beaches. I like walking in an urban city. I can walk for miles and miles. Same. In an urban city. Give me some shops, some sights to see, some iced
Lights.
mochas. Yes.
Civilization.
I will thrive. I will thrive. But the hiking of just walking in dirt to, like, the view doesn't, I don't feel accomplished, like seeing a view, like climbing up to a view. If there's the option of driving up, I would have the same feeling seeing the view. Okay, this is a really pretty view. But getting myself up there, I don't know, it just is so not appealing to me.
But there's this one movie I watched. I think I don't remember what it's called, but in Europe it goes through all European countries or something. Nah, I sound dumb. But there's like a famous road that people hike. It takes like months.
Oh, yes, something Santiago.
Something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. I watched that movie and it made me want to go walk to that, hike to that whole path or something.
Yeah, I think if I'm on a spiritual journey or I need to heal from something, I would go do that.
Yeah, that movie was I think his son died on that.
And he put the ashes
Along the way. Yeah, that movie was pretty beautiful. That I can see myself doing that. Yeah, if some shit exactly some shit happened, like I need to get away. Walk myself to death. I would do that.
Yeah, I think it looked more like flat terrain too. I'm not about the steep incline.
Yeah.
I am not. I like physical exertion. Like the yoga classes I take are very hard. I almost feel like, what's the point if you're not taking a hard fitness class, right? I'm like, what's the point of working out then?
And what about the people who hike through Sahara Desert?
Oh shit,
they have that too.
That's hell to me because desert is my least favorite terrain.
Yeah,
dry. Or they run marathons.
Raw marathon
in like Death Valley when it's 120 degrees.
They always like
Why?
report death, like when people get lost or something. I read this case. Like, fortunately, he survived, but like he got lost. He had to drink his own piss, and I learned you can up to 3 times.
Wait, hold on. Jeff, are we 52? What?
52.
Oh, really? Oh, it feels like longer. Okay.
We're not. It's a long day.
Getting caught up in piss talk. Yeah, that extreme stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not extreme in that way, but sometimes with the marathons and running for that many miles, like to the point where your nipples are chafing and stuff. I was like, I get that you like to run, but does it have to be that extreme?
Some people like that extreme sports. It gives them like, I don't know, it's therapeutic to them. It's adrenaline, like with what you call that, bare hand climbing or something. A lot of people thrive. Like I guess it activates that hyper focus.
So they're present.
They're present. That's the only time they can be present.
Oh,
it's like
okay.
that
So it's
life
like
and death. It's
like a meditation for them.
Addiction.
Yeah. Because to me, if it comes to risking your life, like the free hand climbing.
Yeah.
You know, some guy did like Half Dome or Yosemite. You let go and you slip and you die. Maybe I'm too safe, but I'm like, can't you do that, but also just have a safety thing on just in case? And if you never slip, you did it. But they have to just not
the
have
next
any
level.
that risk.
That risk.
And I guess I'm not a high risk person like that.
Yeah, some people are like that. It's just like, what's the next thrill?
Yeah.
It's like watching porn.
Right.
When it starts, it's just like the internet wasn't all that great. Just seeing a boob. It was crazy. Like, I remember boys in class will talk about the Japanese anime.
Yeah.
And these days, all kinds of porn.
Oh my God.
I used to have a friend who, he told me he can't get hard on anymore. It doesn't matter what a girl does. He just can't get hard on. Like, he was that deep into the porn.
Yeah, that's not good for you. It's completely desensitizes people now.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about someone came on my other podcast and said, it does so much damage to, I think men tend to watch it more than women, to their brains. And you think back in the 1950s, how much porn in a man's lifetime they've seen. You can see that in one day now.
Yeah. True.
Right? And they're so desensitized. It's almost like a real, like you said with your friend, like a real woman can't get them off anymore. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, I don't think it's healthy. And oh God, we don't have kids, but I think about, they must get exposed pretty young now to porn. If they have phones, if it's not them, someone at school has a phone, they have search engines. You don't think a kid's gonna put in dick or boob, or they're gonna see stuff earlier. They have more access than we did. Mm-hmm. I remember when we were in middle school, God, we were little perverts. Our neighbor had, their dad had the Spice Channel. And then so my dad's not home. We can watch the Spice Channel. And the way that it worked was it would be like, back in the day, like the mixed, like all scrambled. But once you start watching it, once it passes like 30 seconds or a minute, then it starts charging you. And so we would try to do it and like change it really quick so it doesn't get charged and dad doesn't know. But then it would happen and they would totally know, like, you guys are watching the porn. That's not okay.
Yeah, I remember the VHS tapes. Mm-hmm. And my best friend and I would like sneak out of classroom and then try to like go to the adult session. Now looking back, we were really young. And then the dude at the clerk, he was older man. He was like maybe in his 40s. Would like check us up and down, like still like give us the VHS.
Oh my gosh. All right. I think we're going to wrap up this episode.